Stop me if you've heard this one before. The Last of Us Part 2 is garbage. The Last of Us Part 2 is terrible. A complete waste of time. Pretentious, woke, a piece of... Okay, you get the point. The Last of Us Part 2 can feel almost defined by disagreement, but there's one fact about it that's difficult to argue. It's one of the most controversial video games ever made. Why is that? Today, we're going to attempt to answer that question while I present my argument that yes, The Last of Us Part 2 is a masterpiece.
She's yours.
No. No. I don't know the first thing about this.
I promised that I'd teach you how to play.
You did.
Man, where to even begin? Well, I suppose the complex tapestry of The Last of Us Part 2 boils down to a simple question. What is this game about? The answer may be a touch more circuitous. I contemplated making this video spoiler-free, but as I thought about it more, I realized that there's just no way to really cut into the meat of this game without exposing some of its secrets. So if you haven't already played and intend to, here's your extensive spoiler warning. This video will be primarily focused on the game's narrative. Conceptually, The Last of Us Part 2 is a straightforward follow-up to the original. It picks up several years after the first game's conclusion, finding protagonists Ellie and Joel settled into the cozy enclave of Jackson, Wyoming. This time around, Ellie is our primary playable character, but she's not the same girl that shot and stabbed her way across the country just a few years prior. She's settled into a more domesticated life, a concept once thought impossible. She has a bed, she has a role, and she just kissed her friend, maybe more than friend, Dina, at a dance last night. Notably, when asked about Joel, she seems conflicted. It would appear that their relationship may have grown more complicated than when we last saw them.
We get your girlfriend to the stables, please.
Ellie and Dina head out on a run away from town to clear out any threats that may be moving closer. It's a dicey yet successful mission, but the next morning, the pair is informed that Joel and good old Uncle Tommy never returned from their run. The pair and Jesse, Dina's ex, split up to find them. What follows is likely the most intense scene I've ever experienced in a video game. Ellie barges into a room and is quickly restrained onto the ground. A bloodied and beaten Joel lies on the floor, barely clinging to life.
Joel, please get up!
In the blink of an eye, Joel Miller, one of this medium's most iconic characters, is dead. You can find controversy in numerous nooks of The Last of Us Part 2, but if there's one seminal decision that has inflamed countless gamers, it's this one. Of course, this should come as no surprise. Killing such an important character is commonplace in film, television, but not video games. Death in video games has grown to carry a different connotation entirely. To die in a game is simply to lose a life. Don't worry, I've got plenty more where that came from, and if I get low, I'll just go hop on a Koopa shell for 10 minutes. We, as gamers, die constantly, even as Joel. But after a quick loading screen, we come back. We respawn. Joel continues on his merry way, with no awareness that he just had a big chunk of his neck ripped out. Not here, though. There's no coming back from this. The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about revenge. A traumatized, beleaguered Ellie, without hesitation, sets off to find those responsible. No questions asked. Those people, that woman with the golf club, they're gonna pay. With Dina in tow, Ellie sets off to Seattle, Washington to exact her revenge and track down Tommy, who's got a day's head start. At this point, the proceedings begin to feel a bit more traditional in nature. Whereas the first game in the series took place over many months, Ellie's journey is far briefer, clocking in at just 3 days. This smaller window of time enables every painstaking moment to breathe as we control her murderous rampage through the Washington Liberation Front, or Wolves, as we come to know them. It's certainly jarring to experience the incarnation of Ellie that we receive in The Last of Us Part 2. Gone is the wisecracking, relatively carefree girl we once knew. That's not to say that she doesn't still crack the occasional joke or accept the brief moment of levity. She's still Ellie, but it's difficult to find time to crack open the latest book of puns when you're occupied with torturing someone for information. She'll never be the same, and as a player, that's hard to stomach. We're not accustomed to our protagonists changing. When we pick up a sequel, We expect our lead to appear as if they've been frozen in time since we last rolled credits, but that's not the case here, made even more evident by regular flashbacks that fill in the gaps of Ellie and Joel's relationship over the last few years.
I do okay.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You're welcome, kiddo.
At the end of The Last of Us Part 1, Joel lied. After spanning the country to deliver Ellie to perhaps the only people that could utilize her immunity to develop a cure, Joel backed out upon realizing that there was no coming back from the procedure. Ellie's brain would be required for real progress, a fact Joel simply can't accept. You know the rest. He wipes everyone out, steals Ellie back while she's still unconscious, and presents the false narrative that there was nothing they could do with her. It's a lie that she seems willing to accept when those first credits rolled, but Ellie kept existing, and as these periodic flashbacks show, Joel's tale was one she just couldn't buy. We witness the pernicious effects of this lie on their relationship, one that Ellie eventually forces Joel to dispel. So too, though, do we witness the love that these two share as Joel takes Ellie on a birthday tour of an abandoned museum filled with dinosaurs. We witness, ultimately, a complicated relationship and a demonstration that those we love the most possess the capacity to devastate us like no one else. We're reminded why Ellie is sleeping in an abandoned theater in the middle of Seattle. By the end of the third day, Ellie's killed a number of wolves, found Tommy, and settled into the theater home base with Jesse and a pregnant, sickly Dina. Over the course of this journey, Ellie's penchant for punishment has increasingly reared its ugly head. It's a thirst for blood that's caused her to kill with reckless abandon and resulted in the people around her beginning to see her just a little bit differently. Such rage has even led her to murder a woman whom Ellie only comes to find once it's too late is pregnant. As she seeks to displace her trauma, it piles on even more, and yet somehow she's made it through alive. Surrounded by her friends, her family, Ellie begrudgingly accepts that Joel's murderer will get to walk free, the one wolf they couldn't find. As it turns out, she found them.
Shit.
Jesse, stand up! Hands in the air, I shoot this one too.
In a matter of seconds, Jesse is killed, Tommy is beaten, and Ellie held hostage by this monster, this murderer, this... Who is this woman? This is Abby. The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about duality. Abby is actually introduced within the first hour of the game. We don't know anything about her or the people accompanying her. We just know that they seem to be on a mission. It's not long after being introduced to Abby that her life is saved by none other than Joel Miller. You'd think she'd be nothing but grateful, but as she escapes harm's way with Joel and Tommy, something's not right. Abby leads them back to her people, where the inevitable unfolds.
Felt like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
Further into the game, after the standoff in the theater, we're finally able to learn who the hell this Joel killer really is. It turns out Abby is a daughter. The daughter of a doctor, a man brought to life by helping humans and animals alike. A man who just so happens to be tasked with operating on a young woman who may just be the key to saving humanity. That's right, Abby's dad is the doctor set to remove Ellie's brain in the quest for a cure. The same doctor that Joel Miller kills in cold blood.
Abby.
No!
Abby, don't look.
Dad! Dad! No!
It's a pretty shocking revelation, and one that immediately begins painting a greater picture. Abby was destined to be a lightning rod for controversy from the moment she picked up that golf club. To kill such a revered character at the beginning of the story, no less, was a damning act so disdained that even the actor who played Abby received death threats. But if we're willing to take a step back and examine the situation, can you really blame her? Joel killed her father. We know why he did it, of course, but all Abby can see is some kind of perverse vigilante who decided the world doesn't get to find a cure for this horrific virus. All Abby can see is the guy who killed her dad. It's all about perspective. And so, for the latter stretch of The Last of Us Part 2, we play as none other than Abby, over the course of the same 3 days that we just experienced as Ellie. It's a deeply jarring shift that carries not only narrative ramifications, but mechanical ones as well. All those upgrades you acquired as Ellie, gone. Abby's got her own skill trees, she's got her own weapons, and even her own collectibles. In all regards, it's a complete reset. I imagine that other than Joel's death, this is the point where the highest number of people stopped playing, and it's hard to blame them. On my first playthrough, even I found my interest waning. Suddenly, we're thrown into an entirely different scenario full of characters that we barely know. For the majority of Abby's first day, I found myself trudging onward, trusting that the game would pull me back in, and pull me back in it did. The Washington Liberation Front is currently at war with the Seraphites, ostensibly a religious cult that primarily lives offshore on a small island. The two groups just can't seem to get along, and during her first day, Abby is kidnapped by some scars, as she refers to them. At the door of death, Abby is saved by two people from the group she despises. Lev and Yara are on the run from the Seraphites after being exiled, and as the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The trio escapes harm's way, but Yara is gravely wounded. Despite his sister's vulnerability, Lev opts to push Abby away, insisting that the two can make it on their own. Ordinarily, Abby would have gladly obliged and continued on without a second thought. But in this instance, Abby goes back the next day to help. Her rationale is initially unclear, but as Abby herself eventually puts it, she needed to lighten her load a bit.
Those fucking kids.
If Ellie's story shows us the brutality and trauma of the quest for revenge, Abby's shows us what comes after. Our first experience with Abby finds her achieving a years-long goal of finding and killing the man responsible for the death of her father. She gets her revenge right off the bat. As the remainder of the story unfolds, we begin to see the cost of this non-refundable transaction. Most tales of retribution end with some form of mission accomplished, but not here. Abby is plagued with nightmares. Those closest to her begin distancing, shaken by what they saw her do. There's a quiet wall of static that seems to separate her from the world around. As Ellie inches closer to revenge, Abby treads cautiously, consciously or otherwise, towards some kind of redemption. She makes it her mission to ensure the safety of Lev and Yara, despite their allegiance to a different master. There's beauty to be found here, and despite her past transgressions, I found myself growing a connection with Abby that I'd initially doubted. Of course, we know where her road leads. At the end of Abby's third day, she finds her dead friends, killed at the hands of Ellie. Lev finds a map revealing her location, so the pair sets off to find her. What transpires next is the same scene we've already witnessed, but this time through the eyes of Abby. Eventually, we settle into the exact same cutscene we witnessed previously, but now, everything's different. Initially, I wanted Ellie to do whatever necessary to take Abby down, but now, I wanted anything but. As the player, I've grown to love these two women, but for them, nothing has changed. Ellie wants Abby dead, and despite her gradual progression towards some form of passivity, Abby reverts back to the form she knows all too well. The two just can't lay down their weapons. It seems that time has passed. What follows is, well, a boss fight, I suppose, but it doesn't feel like one in the traditional sense. This isn't some monstrosity who needs a few rockets launched into its chest, it's Ellie. I just want the fighting to stop, but it can't. Just as Abby prepares to end Ellie's life, Dina rushes in and saves her. She's easily overpowered by Abby though, who prepares to slit her throat, gleefully so once she finds out that Dina is pregnant. It's an eye for an eye that only Lev can see will make the world a little more blind. His brief interruption gives Abby just enough time to pull back the knife and walk away. The two disappear into the night, leaving Ellie and Dina on the floor.
Don't ever let me see you again.
The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about time. It's a story told in a manner that may at first seem convoluted in nature. The first game unfolded mostly linearly over the course of about a year, whereas Part 2 weaves a complicated web of flashbacks and multiple perspectives. It demonstrates how long hatred can fester and how quickly its inspired actions can alter lives irrevocably. Many months after the events in the theater, Ellie and Dina are trying to raise Dina's child, JJ, in some kind of peace. The two seem in love. JJ's happy, but Ellie is stricken with PTSD, still plagued by her last images of Joel. As hard as she's trying, and she appears to be trying hard, Ellie just cannot let this go. Despite the beauty around her, revenge takes hold once again. Thanks to a lead from Tommy, whose injuries have rendered him unable to travel very far, Ellie heads for California, despite clear warning from Dina that she just can't do this again. Doesn't matter though, it has to be done. After an arduous expedition, Ellie closes in on Abby's location. It turns out she's been taken prisoner by a brutal group of thugs known as the Rattlers. Doesn't matter though, we've come too far to stop now. After battling through the complex, Ellie finds Abby, not ready to fight, but tied to a pole, emaciated. Stunned, Ellie cuts her down. Before she can even react, Abby's already cutting down Lev, who also barely clings to life. Whatever Ellie was expecting, this surely isn't it. Abby doesn't want to fight anymore. In fact, she tips Ellie off to some nearby boats. The two slowly walk to the beach. For a moment, as Abby loads Lev into the boat, I wondered if Ellie would just let bygones be bygones. I think Ellie considers it, but then Ellie sees Joel. She's come too far to stop now. Abby, only willing to fight once Ellie threatens Lev's life, begrudgingly faces her in the shallow water. It's a battle at once brittle and brutal. The two exhausted women fight with their remaining might to extinguish the other first. Abby even bites a couple of Ellie's fingers off. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Ellie gets Abby's head under the water. Finally, after all the pain, all the miles traveled, all the people killed, this can all be over. But then, Ellie sees Joel. The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about perspective. The Last of Us creative director Neil Druckmann once said that if The Last of Us Part 1 is about love, The Last of Us Part 2 is about hate. This journey features copious hatred to be certain, but both games are really about love. Love is an all-consuming force. It galvanizes our most pure altruism and our most potent vengeance. Joel crossed the country with Ellie because he loved her, and Ellie murdered and tortured to avenge Joel because she loved him. And yet, in the game's most impactful moment, we witness the love that galvanized Ellie to kill, give her the grace to spare. So, why is this game as divisive as it is? The first reason you'll see if you begin to research is the fact that Joel was not only killed, but so early on in the game. For many, this was a bridge too far. I've seen some impassioned rhetoric that killing Joel paints him as a villain, but I disagree completely. Joel's murder isn't a commentary on him. Joel was killed because, well, Joel killed someone else. He killed someone beloved, and those people decided to take revenge. That's just what people do now. Joel's murder is a commentary on the world around him, and sets the stage for the story that follows. For many, though, the death of a character they love is simply impossible to redeem, made even more indefensible when considering the fact that you eventually have to fill the shoes of his murderer. At least the battle lines are clearly drawn. Ellie is our protagonist, and Abby is our antagonist. Abby is our protagonist, and Ellie is our antagonist. How can that make sense? Well, because this world has shed the moral parameters that we've come to accept. How can anybody be the good guy when stabbing someone in the head has become as pedestrian as checking the mail? There is no good guy. These people are products of their time, just like we are. More than anything, I'd venture to guess that The Last of Us Part 2 is hated by so many because it makes them uncomfortable. The loss of Joel is uncomfortable. Spending half the game playing as the character that killed him is uncomfortable. For some, spending 30 hours playing as women is uncomfortable. For the most part, we seek comfort in our entertainment, myself included. Video games, in particular, are expected to be a way to pass the time, blow off steam. But The Last of Us Part 2 isn't comfortable. It's dense, it's incredibly violent, and it demands your patience. Such discomfort isn't for a lot of people, and that's okay. I don't begrudge anyone for not liking this game. All perspectives are valid. Could there have been a great version of The Last of Us Part 2 where Joel isn't killed? Sure. This story could have been told in so many different ways, and many of those surely would have been wonderful to experience. Who knows, I may have liked one of those better. I absolutely don't think this game is perfect, whatever that may mean. I think some of the romantic meandering drags the pace of the story down, and in general, I think the game could have benefited from a shorter playtime. Ultimately, I think I prefer the first game's story to that of the second, but this is not a game interested in shoving a political agenda down your throat or cheaply killing a character you love just to say it did it. These assertions are little more than common mischaracterizations. The level of consternation around The Last of Us Part 2 seems largely predicated upon disagreement with the choices it makes, typically masked by insults about the execution of those choices. Whatever you think about the game, you likely feel conviction in your feelings, which perhaps speaks for itself. Few game narratives elicit such passion from players, and we need these types of stories to help the medium evolve.
I'll see you around.
Yep.
It would be easy to walk away from The Last of Us Part 2 with the message that revenge is bad or violence isn't the answer, but I don't think that's what the game is trying to say. This story examines the depths of love and what that love can make us do. It explores the ways in which an apocalyptic event resets our standards of morality. It displays that human emotion is not rational, our decision-making not consistent, and our growth non-linear. What you derive from these ruminations is up to you. As The Last of Us Part 2 draws to a close, Ellie returns back to the farm. Dina and JJ are nowhere to be found. Only possessions remain, including Ellie's guitar, gifted to her by Joel at the beginning of the game. She attempts to play the song he once taught her, but her lost fingers render it impossible. She departs the farm. Where she's going and how she's changed are unclear, but the guitar stays behind, a silent reminder of all that she's lost. I'm not sure what the future holds for this franchise, but in the here and now, The Last of Us Part 2 stands the test of time as a masterpiece of this medium. Stop me if you've heard that one before.